Welcome to Viral Recaps. Today I'm going to explain a thriller and horror movie called Play Dead from 2022. Spoilers incoming. Let's get right into it. The movie opens with a young girl named Chloe checking her mailbox. She receives a final notice on the mortgage of her house. This is one of the most unpleasant movie openings I've ever seen. Anyways, she enters the house and calls the regional manager of the bank. We learn from the call that Chloe is a second-year medical student. She says that the house is all she and her brother TJ have after their father committed suicide recently. Chloe begs for more time to pay up the debt, but the manager ruthlessly hangs up the phone. She then calls TJ to tell him they'll be homeless very soon, but he ignores the call. He's preparing to commit a robbery with Ross, Chloe's ex-boyfriend. They have a short conversation which makes it clear that it's the first time for both of them and intend no harm to anyone. In fact, even the gun is fake. They put their masks on and Ross enters inside while TJ waits in the car as the getaway driver. As expected, things go terribly wrong and we hear a gunshot coming from the inside. Then we see Ross running wounded towards the car. Things get even worse as the car won't start and the owner of the place gets outside and shoots repeatedly towards them. Ross falls to the ground and yells at TJ to go. Just then, the car starts and he ditches his friend out of fear. He then goes home and tells Chloe what they did while she's taking a piece of glass out from his back. He says he only did it to pay off the house and help her with her tuition. Although they weren't together anymore, Chloe gets very upset when TJ tells her Ross is probably dead. Meanwhile, the police have arrived at the scene and Sheriff Duggan pronounces Ross dead. He calls for the coroner to come pick up the body. Chloe asks her brother a few questions to better understand the possibility of him going to jail. TJ says they wore masks and that no one saw him. He also ditched the car and set it on fire. Everything sounds fine until TJ says that they planned the whole robbery on Ross's iPhone. Chloe is shocked by their stupidity and now she knows the only way to save her brother from going to jail is to sneak into the morgue and get the phone back. They only have one night to pull this off because the sheriff will claim all his personal belongings as evidence in the morning. A girl died in a car accident 1 hour before they brought Ross's body into the morgue. Chloe sees this as an opportunity to sneak in. She tries to speak with the coroner saying that the girl who died was her friend and begs him to let her in for one final goodbye while TJ is looking for a way to enter inside. However, the coroner doesn't answer and there's no way to sneak inside the facility. Chloe then comes up with a crazy and desperate idea to save her pathetic brother. TJ knows a vet who's been secretly selling him Adderall pills, which is basically an amphetamine drug. They meet with her and buy propofol. Then, they drive to an underpass and Chloe explains how the drug works. When injected, it slows down the heart rate and brain activity to almost nothing. She tells TJ to wait 30 minutes after she falls unconscious. That's because her body has to be cold when the ambulance arrives, so that they don't try to resuscitate. TJ does as told and Chloe wakes up dizzy in the morgue. She tries to exit the room, but hears the approaching footsteps of the coroner and quickly lies back down. He enters and starts writing down the names of the dead people. Then, he suddenly turns around and looks her in the eye, but fortunately, she manages to stay still. The coroner then takes one of the bodies and exits the room. Just before the door closes, Chloe holds it. She enters one of the nearby rooms where she finds the dead body of the mentioned girl and some clothes to put on. Then she finds the evidence room and takes a peek inside. Just before entering, she sees that the coroner is inside. When she takes a second peek, he turns around preparing to exit and Chloe runs back to the same room. The coroner hears the noise and goes to check. Fortunately though, she managed to hide behind a wardrobe. The girl then follows him to the security room, where he opens the gate for someone to enter the morgue. She stays close to him waiting for her opportunity to snatch the keys. That opportunity doesn't occur though, as he's always keeping the keys hanging on his pants. However, she manages to hear what he talks about with the stranger, whose name is Mannix. We learn from the conversation that the coroner is selling people's organs and makes a ton of cash from it. We also hear that Mannix is looking to buy a liver tonight and tells the coroner to call him back if he finds a healthy one. As Chloe continues to roam around the morgue, she comes across Ross's lifeless body and notices that the coroner took his kidney. Then she takes a final goodbye with him and just before she leaves, he suddenly wakes up and grabs her hand. It comes clear from this horrifying scene that the coroner keeps living people drugged in this morgue in order to sell their organs. Just a quick note if some of you don't know, There's a certain amount of time that organs are usable after somebody dies. The coroner keeps them alive so that their organs are usable whenever there is a buyer. Chloe tells Ross she'll go get the phone and the keys, and then she'll come back to save him. She finds the coroner cutting open someone and pulls a very risky move to snatch the keys. Just then, he receives a call that Mannix will come to buy the mentioned liver within an hour. Chloe hears this and rushes to wake Ross up and get him out of there. Just when they're at the entrance door, the coroner notices his keys missing and goes to check the cameras in the security room. Unfortunately, he sees them on the camera and gets extremely mad. He shuts the power down, takes a mask and a bottle of gas, and goes to hunt them down. Chloe tells him to run once she opens the door and that she won't run away with him as she still needs to get the phone. Just when she manages to open it, Ross collapses on the ground and the coroner gasses them. A few moments later, she wakes up tied to a bed next to Ross. She has a short conversation with the coroner, trying to convince him to let them go and that she won't tell anyone what's happening in the morgue. However, the coroner is not eager to take such risk, and moreover, he thinks that he's doing something very good and meaningful by taking someone's life in order to save several. The coroner then ruthlessly splits Ross open while Chloe is helplessly forced to witness it. Once he takes his liver out, Ross suffers a heart attack and dies. He puts the lung into the cooler and then his phone rings. It turns out to be his young daughter. This psycho has a regular everyday conversation with his daughter seconds after committing such brutality. Anyways, the coroner tells Chloe she's next in line, takes the bag, and heads over to tear apart yet another person's body. While he's busy cleaning the man, Chloe manages to set herself free. The psycho hears all the noise and quickly realizes she's about to escape, so he heads over to prevent it. She barely manages to hide somewhere just before he enters the room. The coroner takes a knife and starts stabbing around the shelves, but fails to find her. Once he exits to search elsewhere, it's revealed that all that time she was holding onto the bottom of Ross's bed. Chloe takes a bottle of liquid nitrogen and goes to the evidence room. She freezes the door handle and breaks it. Then, she quickly finds the box with Ross's belongings. When she's just about to take the phone, the coroner comes inside the evidence room as well. Chloe takes the gun and surprises him. While holding him at gunpoint, she demands the phone, but the coroner knows that the gun is fake, and just when he's about to take her down, she fires the toy gun and luckily shoots him in the eye with the plastic bullet. This gives her a chance to run away. Meanwhile, the coroner goes through the phone and finally understands what this is all about. While searching for a way out of there, Chloe comes across a room full of living people with missing body parts and quickly leaves terrified. The coroner then uses the PA system to tell her he knows everything and that her brother is going to jail if she doesn't turn herself in. Chloe flips him off instead and breaks into his cabinet to call TJ. She tells him she tried really hard but couldn't manage to get the phone, so he needs to leave the state immediately. He refuses to ditch her and says he'll call the police and tell them everything. Just then, the coroner cuts the line and sends his dog after her. She runs away and tries to hide, but as expected, you can't hide that easily from AK-9. Just when it's about to attack, she sees the bag that contains Ross's liver and feeds the dog with it. Meanwhile, TJ already called the police and Sheriff Duggan arrives. When they enter the morgue, Chloe sees them on the cameras, unlocks all doors and runs towards them. They meet at the front door, and just when everything seems to be coming to an end, it turns out that the sheriff knows everything and he's working together with the coroner. That's how they retrieve living people to the morgue, just as they did with Ross. Duggan hits Chloe in the head and beats up TJ till he shivers. This boy is such a goddamn. Apparently, Chloe still carries the toy gun and uses it so they can escape. The coroner tells Duggan through the PA that the gun is fake, but she throws it in his face and they still manage to run away. Meanwhile, the coroner finds out the dog ate the liver and now he needs either TJ's or Chloe's liver as a replacement because Mannix will arrive any minute to take it. The sheriff then blows his whistle to call the K9 and sends it after them. As the entrance gate is closed, TJ tries to climb over one of the fences, but the dog bites his leg. On top of that, the coroner electrocutes him using the fence. To save his buttocks once again, Chloe grabs the dog with one hand and the fence with the other to electrocute it, and eventually, after a few seconds, it let go of TJ's hand and runs away. They manage to get up and lock themselves into a basement just before it comes back. Duggan and the coroner plan to use tear gas to make them come out, but just then Mannix arrives and starts honking at the gate. Duggan reminds the coroner no one is supposed to know about him and hides, but Mannix spots the police SUV and quickly puts two and two together. Then Duggan shoots him and they drag him inside the building. In the meantime, Chloe and TJ have snuck into the vents and they hear their plan about using tear gas. The coroner takes Mannix's phone to call his boss and requests a new courier, while the sheriff goes out to take the tear gas. Once they leave the room, Chloe decides to save Mannix, but the coroner spots them on the camera. Once they're out of the vents, they make a deal with Mannix to get him out of there alive for $25,000. In that very same moment, Duggan throws multiple tear gas grenades in the room. Chloe gives masks to Mannix and her brother and tells them to hide because she knows they'll be after her. They play a game of cat and mouse for a while until TJ decides to try and act like a man. As expected, he once more proves himself useless. A few moments later, Duggan finds Chloe, but she brutally murders him by pairing his face with a gas bottle. Then she crows outside to get fresh air as she's about to faint from breathing the tear gas for too long. In the meantime, the coroner sees that the sheriff is dead and he knows he's in much trouble now. He drags TJ in another room and ties him down to get his liver. Chloe enters the room and tries to set her brother free, but the coroner surprises her from behind and tries to cut her eye out. She manages to grab the bottle of liquid nitrogen next to her and sprays it in his face. Then she hits him with the bottle, causing him to smash his head against a metal shelf. As his face was deeply frozen from the gas, this causes it to shatter in pieces like glass. He grabs a knife and tries to stab her multiple times, and just when he's about to finish her off, Mannix appears from behind and stabs him in the back. He then passes the knife to Chloe, who delivers the finishing blow by stabbing him in the head. They have a brief moment of enjoyment that it's all over, and then Chloe takes the coroner's liver out because Mannix still needs to deliver one to his boss. After she's done, he keeps his word and pays them $25,000. Then they finally exit the morgue and he offers them a ride home. Before they get in, Chloe gives the iPhone to TJ, meaning that after all, she managed to save his butt. In the final scene, we see the dog eating the remains of the coroner. That's what I call a well-deserved end.